I'm like, I'm always open to talk to anybody. But if they're
You
gonna
guys get a chance to go
talk
downstairs and
about
see?
it.
Xavier gave me a little bit of a tour, and he pointed out that I guess Best Buy is sponsoring a little bit of an enrichment zone down there.
So it's gonna be Best Buy team.
Okay, gotcha.
Foundation big.
Gotcha. That makes
So
sense.
yeah, so it's going to be a total, it's going to be a technology center as well as a recording studio.
Oh, sweet. He said, yeah, they're gonna do some coding and stuff, computer science
Well,
work.
you know, so the kids get to pick what technology is actually going in there, and so of course they picked recording music. So that
You're a little bit down
recording
too, so
studio
we're gonna do like.
and then the inside of it is kind of full.
Malcolm, I'm gonna sit right here.
We're looking at 3D printing. And so then we do graphics. And so they get to pick and choose, and then what happens is you phase in and phase out those technologies based on the kids' interests.
Gotcha. So it's kind of like a makerspace type vision. Yeah.
Basically.
Very nice. I actually haven't. I've never officially been in here, so I'm glad that you guys are putting this on. Thank you.
Oh, it's very cool. Tess is like the freaking anchor of like everything that goes on here. She's amazing.
A few folks from Buchanan.
Thanks for putting it on. Yeah.
Exactly. They're trying to get club in there.
Yeah.
It's funny, they come to our facilities and they're like, how did you guys get a club like that here? We got people that, you know, that made it happen.
People that invest,
Yeah,
huh?
a lot of people that invest. And yeah, so it's been good because our club in Buchanan has been averaging 70 kids every day. Tomorrow will be 100 because we're going on a field trip to Denver.
What are the numbers like in this area then? Here?
So it just depends. So like tonight, you'll see there will be 90 kids. At the youth campus, it's over 100. It just depends on the day too.
Yeah, sure.
So consistent, usually like Bridgman will have usually about 75 to 85 kids a day. That program is an all-day program. We go from 8:30 to 4:30. $20 for the whole summer. So you get all field trips. And a lot of that is due to the Michigan Department of Education. We got a grant. So we do this called House of Time. Basically, they provide the funding. And we simply, we say, you gotta have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
So it's either like, depending on what's their holiday schedule, it's $5 for the whole summer.
It's so
a
cheap.
full-day program, it's $20. But then we cover snacks, we cover field trips, and we make sure that they probably get a field trip every week. So, great schools from the urban areas.
Do you guys partner much with the YMCA? I can't recall.
Yeah, so
Okay,
we
yeah. So
are
you and
partnered
I know Zach Hoyt. Then you got okay, yeah.
So that's where we do the
Yep,
study.
that makes
We
sense.
also partner with First Tee, that's where they get to go do the call.
Yeah.
We try to make sure that all summer they keep. This is your chance to just explore and do things that you don't have. It's South Shore this year, so they're doing swimming and swimming.
We're close together.
Unfortunately, they don't have a beach.
It's like, what? What am I doing?
It's so ridiculous. And they bust it.
So hard.
They do it actually at the range. I would love it. Yeah, thank you. And so there's 300.
I've kind of been.
That's probably close to 1,000.
Go.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Hi, Joey. How are you? Good. How you doing? I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good to see you.
See you.
Alright.
I would love some
The phone off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alright. Hi everybody.
Hello.
We are a facility built for kids and busy this time of day. So thanks for coming in. All right. Can I have members? So Xavier, do you want to head over there? Thank you. Oh, and you know what? Let's see. Can we grab? Yep. Come on up, everybody. I got a lot of kids that want to talk to us. Right here. Sit right here. All right. Oh, we got one over there. Thanks, Michaela. Oh, you got one, Zay? Everyone can see? So that's where that's us right now. And when we speak, we're gonna try and project out to that. Sound good? Okay. So, hi guys. All right. Myron, tell me, are we good to go? We're good to go. Okay. All right. Representatives, And potential representatives, thank you guys so much for coming to the Boys and Girls Club.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Like I shared with you guys, as we were trying to put this candidate forum together, the Boys and Girls Club of Southwest Michigan, people know us as being from Benton Harbor, but we actually stretch out all over Southwest Michigan. This summer, we actually have 13 different sites. Our northernmost site is up by South Haven and Lawrence, and then we actually stretch all the way over to Sturgis and White Pigeon as well. So while you came here to our legacy, one of our legacy sites, our teen center, we are bringing with us the voice of all of those communities that we serve. So a lot of the teens here, as well as some of our younger members, have been working to get together some questions and just kind of getting to know you guys as candidates. A lot of us in the room don't have a vote yet, but we will soon, and the decisions that you guys make now are going to be what really impacts our lives moving forward. So when we're asking you these questions, these are questions that came directly from our members. These are also questions that came from the families that we serve. Just as a quick reminder, and for everyone in the room, the Boys and Girls Club is a 501c3 organization, so we actually do not endorse candidates or specify who to vote for. It's really important to us that families in our community have the opportunity to hear from their elected officials and that youth have a voice in that process. We advocate to candidates of all parties for policy and legislation that promises a great future for our youth. Some examples of that are encouraging our federal elected officials to pass the Summer Meals Act, ensuring that kids at our club do not go hungry in the summer. We also advocate to our state legislators especially about the importance of after-school programming so organizations like ours can access the Michigan Department of Education out-of-school time funding. As we ask you questions, this is a forum. It is not a debate. Candidates will be asked questions and will give you a specific time to respond. They will not be, our members are abiding by our values of integrity, collaboration, accountability, respect, and excellence, and we expect adults to do the same while we're in their space. One of the Boys and Girls Club's leading values is respect. We value diversity and creating environments of belonging. We treat others with respect personally and professionally. We embrace ways of thinking that may be different from our own to advance our mission. Please keep this in mind as members ask questions that may be difficult to answer for many reasons. I would love to open it up to candidates for candidate introductions. So candidates, if you can just give us a little bit about who you are, where you live, where you're representing, we'd love to hear from you. We'll start with Mr. Lucas and go this way.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Tess. I'm George Lucas, and I'm running for state representative in the 38th district. I've had a presence in Berrien County for my entire life, and I've had two careers in my life. The first one was in corporate America, where I learned how large organizations work, and for the last 25 years, I've been a real estate broker here in Southwest Michigan, and that experience has given me a deep understanding of our area. What's probably more important to know about me is that I've been extremely involved in my community, and for the last 30 years, I've been involved with numerous charities, nonprofits, and I've served as the president of two nonprofit organizations. One is Chickering Open Lands, the Land Conservancy, and the other one is the Southwestern Michigan Association of Realtors. And in both cases, I was able to leave the organizations better than I found them. And I attribute that to the fact that I work well with people. I know how to use my leadership skills to get people on the same page so we can move the organization forward. I know one of the questions that was in the materials that you sent out earlier was something about our childhood. And I guess one of the things that I've learned in life is that life hands you a handful of game-changing moments. So there's decisions to make on opportunities that are presented to you that could have a lasting impact on your entire life. And for me, when I was a kid, I was just a mopey little kid. There was nothing special about me, pretty nondescript. But my best friend in high school, Mark Cushman, said he was going out for the wrestling team, and he says, "George, you need to go out for the wrestling team. You got to go out for the wrestling team." I'm not going to say he asked me. Mark forced me to go out for wrestling, and to me it was a game changer. I had never been involved in organized sports before, so I learned the benefits of teamwork. I learned the benefits of grit, sticking to things, following things through. And these are all characteristics that have helped me for my entire life. And it ended up, I turned out to be a pretty good wrestler. I wrestled all 4 years in high school. And I also wrestled on a Division I wrestling team in college, where not only did I make the team, but I was also a starter. So keep your eyes open for these opportunities. They're subtle, but when you make the right decision, the payoff could last a lifetime.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Angela Jones. I am running for 37th District State Representative. I grew up in Texas, so I am not originally a Michigan native. However, I did graduate from St. Joseph High School, and my children have enjoyed public schools here in Southwest Michigan. It's a beautiful area to raise children, so I'm happy to be here. I bought my house in Niles in 2018, where my husband and I moved, and that is our home. As far as my childhood, I learned a lot of things. One of them was tenacity. I taught myself how to ride a bike. My father had come home with this bicycle that he pulled out of the trash somewhere. We didn't have a lot of money, so it was rusty, it was too big for me, and I was about 5 years old, and I really wanted to learn how to ride a bike, and nobody had the time to teach me. So one day, I decided I was gonna get on this bike while my dad was preoccupied doing something else, and I went from curb to curb, back to the curb to curb, just kept going until I could finally get from one curb to the next. And then I just kept going further and further down for the curbs. And eventually I taught myself how to ride a bike in one afternoon and a couple of bloody knees. So I ended up we were actually just joking around with my mother the other day that I had bloody knees all the way up into 4th grade because I kept falling off that bike that was too big for me. But one of the things that I like to tell my children and other friends is take the opportunity to do things that are outside of your comfort zone, because that is where you will have the most growth. And as a business owner in Southwest Michigan, I do work a lot with people and try to build them up. And that is another thing that I would say is spend more time lifting those around you up. Look for the reasons to compliment them. Look, like, it just, if you can make a smile on somebody's face, it's very important to them, and it could change your day too. So thank you for having me here.
Thanks, Ms. Jones.
Hi, my name is Kevin Whiteford. I'm running for the 38th State House seat. I live currently in South Haven. I have my wife who's here today, so thank you, Mary. I have 3 kids. They have 3 spouses. I have 5 grandkids. They all live in South Haven. 7 of them are in the businesses. I have a nephew. His wife and child live in St. Joe. He is also in the business. My passion in life right now, honestly, is to do whatever I can to save a child. Now, I'll get to why that is. I grew up in a small town, in a house, 3 bedrooms. There was 5 of us with my parents. My dad busted his butt off being a bricklayer, and he taught me how to work hard. Now, there's something that I had to do. There was the household was kind of messed up. There was brothers that were. I was in a community that was tough, so I had to figure out how to get by and how to make things happen. And that was what? Finding mentors. I had to find mentors that were positive, because there was something that I said, there's only 2 ways I'm going to get out of here, and that's going to be sports and education. And that's how I'm going to get somewhere long term. And that's what I did. I drove all the time and said, hey, when I was 10 years old, I set up a landscape business. Why? To earn money to go to camp. I did landscaping. I did snow shoveling. I did any kind of job I could think of to make it. And I worked hard to do it. That's how I got my first weight set when I was 12. All I'm going to tell you is that the mentors I found along the way, I was very blessed. Catholic priests, basketball coaches, all sorts of people, teachers. I'm from a mold that says a village raises a child. Now, why is all this important today? the Boys and Girls Club has got to be one of the coolest things that allows you to find mentors all over the place. You just got to find that right mentor that needs and leads you to a future that is better than where you're at today. I was able to take that, by the way, play college hoops as a guard, got a Division I basketball ride, and then I got an accounting degree. That accounting degree allowed me to go with some of the biggest firms in the country. That led me to some other avenues. I constantly found what? Avenues to make myself better. One of the things that my wife has always said is, man, you're always trying to prove yourself. It's true. I wish one day that I would say, man, maybe I've got everything that is happy. But the bottom line is, you need to improve yourself every day. You need to find the mentors that are going to take you there. This group is amazing, and they have many of those here. You got Vanessa Williams when you get greeted. She's amazing. You got all kinds of people, and I don't want to start naming names, but there is a lot. Find the sport, find an education, find a friend, find someone who's going to take you to where you got to go. So I am running for the 38th State House seat because why? I want to make a difference in our communities. I want to figure out how to help as many people as I can in our communities. When I'm state rep, I guarantee when I'm in office, I will be in the communities as many times as I can be. People here know me. Why? I've been here. I've played hoops in that court over there. I play hoops with Rodney Alexander over there in his gym. I've played hoops all over the place. Why? Because I want to find kids that I can just hopefully relate to and find out if there's something that I can do to make their lives better. That's what I'm about. I want to save a child a month. That's my goal. And my goal is to say, hey, you can make it if you get the right people. So all I'm going to say is this state rep job, I'm going to do whatever I can to help the communities along the lakeshore, which is Saugatuck Township all the way down to New Buffalo. I have no fear. I have walked the streets of Benton Harbor. And I want to help this community like you have no idea how. I do. I want to be here. I'm gonna meet you. I'm gonna go to the barber shop where Rodney Alexander's barber shop. Anybody been there? I've been there. I've met his clients. Meeting people on the streets, meeting people here, being in the facilities, playing ball, talking to you face to face where you are comfortable. That's where I want to be. So let me know where that is in the future. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to win in this position, by the way, and I'm going to be looking forward to doing it. Thank you. Kevin Whiteford for the 38th State House seat.
Thanks, Mr. Whiteford. And Mr. Paquette.
Hey, yeah, I'm Brad Paquette. I'm grateful to be able to be here with y'all. I actually am from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so when you put your hand out to point out where you are in Michigan, there's another part way up here, and I'm from right up here on the second hand in Marquette. But I actually came down here to Southwest Michigan. I fell into teaching actually across the street. They hired me as a Spanish teacher there, and it actually got me into teaching, which was awesome. Never thought I would be a teacher before. I never really had a teacher that remembered my name after the grade that I was in, and so I was like, I just kind of floating through school. But after I fell into teaching over there across the street, I really came to find a lot of fulfillment in that job, especially investing in the lives of young people. That's what it's all about. I wasn't certified to teach, though, when I got hired, so the state of Michigan said, hey, this guy's not certified to teach. He can't be teaching there, teaching Spanish, so they actually let me go. But then I went and got a master's degree to get certified to teach, and I ended up teaching in Niles for about 6 years. We built a school. And one thing in education, a lot of people dog on education, but it's a very fulfilling profession. Especially when you have teachers that are pouring into the lives of young people, because that's the best return on investment you can get is when you invest in the life of a young person. And so in teaching, though, there are a lot of people who say, hey, we can't do what's best for kids because of this, or because of the school board, or the superintendent, or the community, or the parents, or what, and they all often will point the fingers. And so I was asking, how can I better our system of education from a teaching standpoint? And all the fingers pointed to legislation. And so in our form of government, states have the biggest impact on our education system. So our era of term limits used to be 6 years. The representative down in the district, South County, was being term limited out. And so I knocked on about 12,000 doors and met some amazing people in the community. And they gave me some courage and some confidence, gave me their vote at that time. And this is my third term that I've been serving. And I do not take it for granted. And campaigning, it's just like anyone that's up here campaigning, it's a hard job, getting the confidence of the voters, but it's an honorable job, and that's something that I am very, very excited about, bringing honor to the position, and then also trying to invest and pour into others as I go along the way. So again, thank you for having me here and being able to be in the place with this forum.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Andrews.
Thanks. Joey Andrews, current state representative for the 38th House District. I think I've walked a path that many millennials can probably relate to, where I've had like 4 or 5 different careers in the years since I graduated college. I was a practicing attorney for a few years before getting into small business. My family, I'm the 5th generation small business owner in my family, but also was involved very heavily with my parents' small businesses for a number of years before getting more involved in politics and taking a job as both a labor organizer and working on labor policy for the Michigan AFL-CIO before running for the seat in 22 and being elected. I grew up here in Southwest Michigan. My family's roots here go back sometime in the early 1800s, as far as we can tell. What that means is that everybody in our family's fallen in love with this place, and even those of us that went away for a little while, we find our way back. And that's a big part of what made me want to run for this district in the first place, was growing up here and seeing all of the opportunity that's possible, and that's, I think, often been left on the table for our communities here in our region, and helping us find a way to draw on that so that the people here can have good quality jobs, lead good middle class lives, and build and sustain a family that falls in love with the place the same way that I did. As far as being a kid here, growing up, I think one of the best lessons that I learned moving school systems between elementary school and middle school, and having to completely start over with a brand new friend group, was the value in taking chances and trying to meet new people as much as possible, and never judging on first impression, whether or not somebody's actually going to be somebody that you get along with or want to be friends with. And we have to make a lot of lifelong friends that I'm still friends with to this day, just by going out on a limb, trying new things that I wouldn't have tried before, and picking up new hobbies, that sort of thing. And just never be afraid to try something and meet new people, because you never know which of those people that you met when you were 12 years old you'll end up being the best man at their wedding one day. So, yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys very much for that introduction. We're gonna change course a little bit, and our members are gonna start to do most of the talking now. I'm gonna have our members ask you guys some questions. I'll provide a little bit of context beforehand. When we're asking you those questions, we love all your ideas, and I'm limiting you to a minute. So let's respect, you know what? We talk a lot about like kids' attention spans. Let's be real, we have adult attention spans too. So so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give you each a minute. I'm gonna hold up 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as you're finished. Sound good? I'm not gonna cut your mics, anything like that. Again, there's no need for that, but that's how this next part will run. Sound good to everybody?
Yes.
All right, so to kick us off, Xavier Harden here was our Junior Youth of the Year, not just for Benton Harbor, but actually for all of our sites all over Southwest Michigan. So I'm going to have Xavier kick off our first question to you guys. Nice and loud so everyone can hear. Ready?
My name is Xavier, and I am a member of the youth campus in Benton Harbor. I am 13 years old and have lived in Benton Harbor all my life. I won the title of Junior Youth of the Year in March. The club has taught me that there is possibility for the future, but that's not the case for all of my friends. When we asked families on a scale of 1 to 10 how hopeful they were for youth in our community, over half were under 5. We also asked about challenges in the community. We'll talk more about those, but before we do, what do you think the biggest challenge is for youth in our community, and how hopeful are you for our future?
All right, so the question was, what do you think the biggest challenge is for youth in our community, and how hopeful are you for the future? We'll go the other way, so Mr. Andrews, we'll have you start.
Sure. I think what it comes down to is education and jobs. We need to make sure the kids in this community are able to get a quality, world-class education, and then upon graduating, have access to quality careers that allow them to sustain a family. Right now, Benton Harbor's unemployment rate is north of 18%. And while we've been doing a lot of work, the schools struggle. So we need, I think, increased and continued investment in improving the schools to make sure that every kid gets the best education possible here, and work on bringing more quality jobs into the area, particularly in the trades, so kids can build a life for themselves, start a family of their own one day, and continue living here, not feel like they have to leave to find opportunity. As far as how I feel about the future, I'm a chronic optimist, and I always think that there's hope in the future, and that if everybody keeps their eyes on where we can be, what we can accomplish, that we can do great things here. So I'm always hopeful for the future.
Thank you, Joey. Mr. Andrews. All right. And Mr. Paquette.
Yeah, I get to, after teaching for about 6 years, get to know a lot of young people, still in touch with a lot of them. Some of them ask me to perform their wedding ceremonies for them. And so a lot of the older generations often dog on the younger generations, like, oh, they're fancy record players, or, they're lost, they're on their phones all the time. And I'll say, well, do you actually know any young people? Because I know a lot of them, and I'll testify on the behalf of them all day, because we have a lot of good up-and-comers. But someone alluded to, I think Mr. Wyford alluded to mentorship. And that's something that is ultimately key, is people that will look at somebody and say, hey, you have talent, here's an opportunity. And that's a cultural aspect that educators can do, people in the community that invest in schools and build up partnerships, open up a building like this. That's what it comes down to. But it comes down to the people that are being poured into, that are pouring into young people, and that's where it comes down to, especially when you talk about state policy and legislation as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey.
All right, ready? And Mr. Whiteford.
Okay, I am incredibly optimistic about the youth. I really am. I think they have a lot of energy. They see through the crap that's going on, and there is a lot of it. I think you guys have a good future ahead, and you really have to fight for it. That's what I'm going to say. What do we need to do to help them? We need to bring jobs. For well over 8 to 9 years, I've been working on this. We need manufacturing jobs along the lakeshore. I'm just saying. We need, and that's going to be numbers. Now, what does that come with? We need affordable homes. Affordable homes, and we need jobs. The third thing, I think, and one of the things I've been pushing for almost 2.5 years, we've got to get rid of the individual income tax. There's a lot of reasons. It spurs a lot of money down on the bottom, and it also tells the youth that are leaving our state to Tennessee, Texas, and Florida that we need to get them to stay here. And we also need to bring in more youth that say, hey, this is a good place to be. So I think we got to eliminate costs, try to reduce it, so we make an environment for them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and Ms. Jones.
So building on what Joey had mentioned about improving the funding for investing in quality education, especially in areas that are impacted the most or struggling, our youth are different than the youth that I grew up with. As growing up, we did not have exposure to world events. So I feel like our youth today is actually more intelligent than we were growing up. You could use more extracurricular activities. I think having access to those, the things that you have here, playing basketball in a safe environment, if you had that more available to the students that aren't here, I feel like that would really be beneficial. Get you busy, give you something to do outside of school. Thanks.
Thank you. Turns out counting is a really fun part of this, too.
She's doing
right?
a good job.
All right. Thank you. Oh, hold on. All right. Ready? Mr. Lucas.
Well, I'm extremely excited about Michigan's future, and I think that the future of our state, the best days are ahead of us. I've knocked on over 16,000 doors in this race, and one of the things I've learned, and I've literally heard this from hundreds of people in every community, is that a lot of people feel that their kids and grandkids will not have the same opportunity in life that they do. And I've given it a lot of thought. I've done research. I've talked to people who are expert in these matters, and there's a lot of things you can do, but I think if you boil it down to a handful of initiatives on where you want to start, first of all, we need to make every effort we can to improve the educational outcomes our schools. Right now, Michigan is 7 out of 10 kids can't read at grade level, and that tells me that there's a problem. The second thing is we need to attract jobs. We need to attract careers. And what we need to do is we need to take a look at our income taxes and have reasonable regulations to attract businesses.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. So we hear a lot about opportunity. We have a lot of initiatives that we're starting here at the club, specifically surrounding workforce development and how we start some of this career exploration earlier with our kids, and also showcase that there's alternative pathways to success beyond college as well. So with that in mind, I am going to turn it over here to Alicia.
Hi.
Hey there.
I'm Alicia. I'm 15 years old. I attend Benton Harbor High School. This summer I'm doing Life and Workforce 101 at the club, and I'm exploring career paths. We gone to a factory and done hands-on work with elders. We also got to go to Berrien County Jail, where some prisoners talked to us about their life decisions. I felt kind of sad, but it also had me thinking about choices people make. What is your plan to help youth have opportunities and help us make good choices?
So the question was, what is your plan to help youth have opportunities and to help us make good choices? I'm going to start in the middle this time, so I'm going to go Mr. Whiteford this way and then here. Okay, ready? So Mr. Whiteford.
I've already indicated, I'm excited about your future. We have to provide jobs. We do. And as a CPA, I did get my CPA. I actually ran the global corporate tax department of a $500 million company in 50 states and 33 countries when I was 26. The only way you get a job like that is when you earn it. So we got to provide opportunities like that for children to get those kinds of opportunities. We need jobs and we need a lower cost of living. And so we have to do both. And my guess is that's how you get you guys involved in order to get a better future. And this club is a great start.
Thank you. And Mr. Paquette.
Yeah, so we definitely don't want the government to force us how to make choices, good or bad. Unfortunately, you can only try to put and instill, I guess, pieces in there to increase the likelihood that people will make good choices. Ben Franklin said back in his day that our country will only be as good as the virtue of its citizens, and virtue is built often through education and mentorships. But in terms of my plan, some of the things I've been working on, I got to chair the education budget, the Department of Education budget, is to put in pieces that would involve the community so that it's not just government run, government funded. How do you inspire people who will make it their own, see themselves in the picture? Because when a person has their idea come to the forefront, they're gonna work 10 times harder to make it work and make it real, rather than just, here's something that we all want you to do. And that's one of our big problems, is that people say, hey, here's the right choice for you, now you go make it, because I said that it was good. And that's part of our problem as well, as a lot of people say, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna force people to do things, and it's a little bit backwards. So 2 seconds, that was it.
Thank you. All right, and Mr. Andrews.
Yeah, so I do think it's particularly important that we have options available that don't require going to college and getting a degree. College degrees are extraordinarily expensive. I've still got about $100,000 in student loan debt from 10 years ago that God knows if I'll ever finish paying it down. But then I look at friends who went into the trades and instead, they got paid to get trained and now have no debt and quality job, good benefits, retirement. So I think the big part of this is opening up more opportunities to get young people exposed to the trades. We have a lot of great labor unions around here. Those apprenticeships, again, they pay you to learn. I think it's something a lot of people don't know, that you get paid to learn the skill and get licensed and get health care at the same time. And we've done a lot of work to bring more of those opportunities to Benton Harbor, and we're going to continue doing work to bring more of those opportunities to our communities here and into our schools, so the kids get to learn more about those opportunities that are available to them. As far as making good choices, that really comes down to your networks, your support systems, your family. That starts at home, and it starts in places like the club here, where you've got great mentors to help you make those good decisions.
Thank you. And Mr. Lucas.
Well, the purpose of education is to give a child the basis of knowledge to fulfill their potential in life. And one of the things that existed when I was in school that went away in many schools is the vocational and educational training. Not every kid's going to go to college. Not every kid is college material, but they have other skills. And I think it's incumbent upon our public education system to provide the opportunities that will allow these kids to succeed in life. And further, I'd like to see a greater level of cooperation between our local school districts and places like the Hanson Technical Center at Lake Michigan College, where kids can actually, while they're in high school, earn an accreditation in college, and they can graduate work ready. And I think that is one thing that we can do that would make a significant impact on a lot of people's lives.
Thank you. And Ms. Jones?
I would actually like to see local businesses offer either internship or apprenticeship programs for our youth, high schoolers, to be able to come in and try out jobs, kind of like you were discussing that you got to do. I think that's a great program. I would like to see more of that available. That would involve communicating between community events and local businesses and the public school system. One of the other things is apprenticeship programs through the trades is a great opportunity. My son is a second-year apprenticeship through a local union, and you can't beat it. You get paid training, benefits, pension, all of the things I've ever wanted in life and had to pay a lot of money for, he got paid for. So I highly recommend trades.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we've talked a lot about the opportunities, and again, here at the club, we're doing a lot to make sure that our youth start to explore workforce. We love being a resource to youth, again, not just here in Benton Harbor, but across Southwest Michigan, especially being an out-of-school time partner. With that being said, our kids spend a lot of time in their school buildings. So I'm going to have Michaela ask her a question now, a little bit surrounding schools. Nice and loud so we can hear you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to the 10th grade at Benton Harbor High. Our school is going through a lot right now with teachers in the building and fights. Last year was really bad. What can you do for a school system like ours?
So the question is, what can you do for a school system like ours? Michaela's speaking to her experience at Benton Harbor High School, but again, we represent students from all over Southwest Michigan. So what I challenge you guys to respond to now, as representative candidates, is if you look at a district that has a pretty high need and is pretty challenged, what would be a couple of things that you would do immediately to start supporting that school district? Mr. Paquette, I'm going to start with you, based on your education background.
Yeah, I got to teach at the high school there for a little while when I first started. Thank you, Michaela, for the question. I got a big whiteboard in the office out at the Capitol, and it says, "and education." So anytime a person comes in talking about education, I ask them, like, what do you mean when you say the word education? Could you define it? And then no person, I've asked that question to thousands of people, no person has had the same answer. But one thing that they all don't include is the building, administration, any of those types of things. And that's what we often spend a lot of time funding. So my challenge and what I think we need to do is we need to rethink what education actually means based on some definitions when it comes down to fulfillment, meaningful learning, purpose, things like that. And that doesn't have to happen in the building. So rethinking education in that way is a cultural change that I've been trying to go about for the last 5 years.
Awesome, thank you. We're going to go the other way. So Mr. Whiteford.
You know, the first thing I can think of, honestly, is when I showed up in college, Division I, 12 guys couldn't read and write. You know, and I couldn't figure out, I'm like, what is that all about? I'm at a major university and they can't read and write. We still have those problems, right? What I said to the administration there was, man, I don't care if you gotta do it behind the scenes or not, but we gotta teach these guys how to read and write, because they gotta be functional. So my big opinion is, we gotta get down to the basics. We gotta make sure that those things happen. I would have no problem showing up in the school, because I don't have any fear. I will show up in the hallways, I will show up in the schools, I will talk to the principals, I will talk to whoever I need to make things happen. Because we gotta make a safe environment, and we gotta help you learn. We gotta create a safe environment so that you get a good learning environment. We gotta teach the kids how to read, write, math, science, just the basics. We gotta get back to it. We could talk about the trades, that's great, but we also need the basics. And it's sad that I still see problems with reading and writing. God bless.
Thank you. Ms. Jones?
So one of the things I've been saying a lot lately is you don't know what you don't know. And when you have children that are expressing themselves in a manner that is not socially acceptable, it can be problematic for the other students in the area. One of the things I would suggest is improving mental health support in schools, and also possibly offering the parents support classes. Because you have a lot of times generational curses, as you want to call it, that go from generation to the next generation, because they're taught how to live that way. And if we could somehow break that generational curse and give those parents the support that they need for their children at home, I think that it would also improve things in the schools as well.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Lucas?
Well, I've talked with dozens of teachers when I've been out knocking doors, meeting the community, and the feedback from the teachers has been very informative to me. It gives you a whole different perspective than what you get in the news. Also, my mom was a teacher, so that was, teaching and education were kitchen table topics in our household. I think two things that are important is, and one I mentioned earlier, that 7 out of 10 kids in Michigan cannot read at grade level. And I think we need to get back to the basics. I think a lot of time in school is spent on things other than true learning life skills. So we need to get back to the basics, reading, math, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Another thing that, comment I've heard, and this comes from almost every teacher I talk to, is that they say one of the handicaps that they have is that they have parents that need to become more involved with educating their children.
Definitely. Thank you guys so much for that. So we've talked about our members' experience, their workforce exploration.
I didn't get to answer that.
I am so sorry, Mr. Andrews. I went right this way.
We're bouncing around. We're okay. You're doing good. Keep it up. You got it.
Ready?
Mr. Andrews, go ahead.
Thanks. So we've actually, I think, started doing a lot in this space to help support schools. Over the last years, we made last year's budget. We made breakfast and lunches free for students to make sure that no student is hungry at school, which goes a long way to stop kids from acting out. Hungry kids can't learn. We forgave the school debt for the Benton Harbor school system. That's $500,000 a year that'll go back into the school's budget to be able to reinvest in critical services for the school, including better pay for teachers. And we did a lot to restore bargaining rights to teachers and increase the per pupil allotment to schools so that we can attract high quality teachers by raising wages and giving them more ability to advocate for themselves. And a lot of that goes a long way into improving the quality of our school system. But there's also the element that happens out of school, like has been talked about here, and that comes down to addressing systemic issues in our community. That means addressing an unfair criminal justice system that punishes black and brown people more than white people, restoring jobs to the community so that families have fair wages and can actually take care of their kids. A whole host of systemic pressures that we have to address aside from the school pressures.
Thank you. Have I covered everyone?
You got it.
Thank you. All right, so thank you guys very much for that. And so we've talked about workforce for our members, we've talked about education for our members, but when we zoom out as a community, the question and one of the issues that keeps coming up throughout our entire region is gun violence. So I'm gonna have Isaiah ask our next question. Isaiah is here as a club alumni and actually as a current club staff member as well. So Isaiah, I will scooch back a little bit so you can take that mic and we can hear you.
Okay.
We got it. Good job.
Hello, I'm Isaiah Porter. I'm an alumni of the club, and I'm currently a staff member. We've lost community members to gun violence, and we lost members of our club. A lot of the kids I work with say that it's because guns look cool, and it's all about acting like thugs and playing. When we hear that guns are now the #1 killers of kids, and that 1 in 5 people know someone affected by gun violence, it doesn't surprise us. Our Benton Harbor and our Niles communities especially are impacted. What's your response to youth being concerned about gun violence in our community?
Thank you. So I'm going to start this time, and I promise I will get to everybody. I'm going to start with Ms. Jones for this one.
So this one hits a little hard. My niece was actually a survivor of a school shooting that took place in Santa Fe in Texas. It changed her life forever. It changed the life of the rest of our family forever. No child should ever have to go through that. One of the things that I really appreciated about bipartisan support that went on in the first 100 days, I believe, legislation was passed for introducing gun safety laws. That has been incredibly, I think, monumental in helping keep children guns out of the hands of children, including the background checks, universal background checks, red flag laws, but especially the safe storage. Having parents put their guns away is a responsibility that every gun owner should have so that their child does not gain access to their firearms.
Thank you. So just a reminder that that Angela Jones is running for the 37th House District, and that covers our Niles location. So I'm actually going to go to you, Brad, as well, so that we have that regional context.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, with the Second Amendment, we have laws against gun violence. We have murder being illegal, and this is something that it comes down to, again, like I mentioned before, the virtue of citizens, where when people harm one another, it's a terrible thing, obviously. And so when that occurs and someone is breaking a law, one of our first reflexes is to take away freedoms from all other people. And so when we have that type of mentality that all these press releases get put out there like, hey, I'm saving all of these people's lives, and then we have continued violence, it comes down to kind of what you mentioned there. There's a cultural mentality like, yeah, guns are cool. This is what I do, right? I'll go and harm other individuals, and this is something that is a cultural problem. And the issue that we have with guns is that in America, there are millions and millions of guns, and they're not just going to go away. We need to have citizens that will adhere to the laws that are on the books, and then also prosecutors that will prosecute the laws that we've put on the books, because some of the pitfalls that we've had are laws not being upheld or people having marks against them, but then they're able to have a weapon down the road, or they're not prosecuted to the full sentence, and that's a big problem that we have at the forefront of our country.
Thank you. And so for those of us that are here in the 38th House, which does include our Benton Harbor community, I'll ask you, Mr. Lucas.
Okay, sure. Well, gun violence and violence in general is something that's been a concern to me. Roughly a year ago, I had a meeting with Steve Perangeli, who was the Berrien County prosecutor. He just retired. And I asked him about guns and gun violence and what he thought his solutions were. One thing he pointed out is that in the societies where the guns have been confiscated or banned, that the incidence of violence crime doubles. So I look at it more as it's not necessarily a problem with guns, although when something happens, an incident happens with guns, it is a tragedy, there's no question. But I think that the better approach is to go after violence in society as a whole. And I think two areas to start are, one is we need to improve access to aid for mental illness. And the second thing is an improving economy gives people the opportunity to step out of the despair that they might have, which causes them to do something goofy with a gun.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right. So to build on something that Angela said, we did pass gun safety laws last year. Those have already worked. We've already had instances of individuals who, because of the red flag laws, were prevented from killing a former spouse or ex-partner. They prevented suicides, which is often untalked about but very common case of gun violence, people committing suicide with guns. I think there's much more to do on this, of course. I mean, I remember being in 4th grade with Columbine happening, and from that day forward, none of us, I think, in our generation went to school again without constantly thinking about who is that person coming into our school right now or what could happen. And that's really no way to grow up. It's no way to be. You should feel safe in school. You should feel safe at home. There is, of course, the cultural element to it. But I think, aside from addressing the underlying issues that make people feel like they need to join gangs or get a gun for protection, we should look at successes in other countries. Australia restricted firearms after their last mass shooting. Gun violence rates went down. Same with Japan. It works very well in other countries.
Thank you. And Mr. Whiteford?
I have a lot of history and background in this. First of all, I did meet up with 7 pastors in Benton Harbor at one of the churches here, and that was their first question. What do I think about guns? What am I going to do? We need the Second Amendment. The worse the neighborhood, the more you need the Second Amendment. We need to tackle mental health, period. That has to be treated like a common cold, and we have to do it at the very young age. I'm going to tell you this, when I played ball with some of the best ball players in the country, there was guns every day, and I was in the streets. It's not cool. You got to hit the floor all the time. You get used to it. It's not cool. I did it when I was a kid. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it. It's got to be something that we got to tackle. It's a great question. I think we got to have that Second Amendment. We got to teach people what a gun really is for, and we have to protect the rights. And so what I'm going to say is mental illness is one of the biggest hurdles that we have to tackle, and we have to do it at an early age, period. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So, looking across the spectrum, like I said, gun violence is one of those items that bubbles up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, we feel, especially at places like the Boys and Girls Club, that we are one of the tools in addressing those things you mentioned: mental health, safe spaces to go after school, and really being a resource to the community. With that in mind, we have expanded our community a lot in the last couple of years. Previously, we were the Boys and Girls Clubs of Benton Harbor, and this is where people know us well. We decided to stretch our legs and go throughout Southwest Michigan, and one of our most successful programs, especially this summer, has actually been in Buchanan, Michigan. So right now in Buchanan, we are so happy that over 70 kids attend our programming every day. So we actually have here some staff and parents from Buchanan to tell you a little bit about what kind of a difference the club has made for them. The reason in particular we want to highlight Buchanan is because we have both Mr. Paquette and Ms. Jones here, and the club is doing something really unique in a community. We are coming in, partnering with the school district, and meeting the needs of families. So we want you to hear about this, and we want you to consider it as you're going into your election, but more importantly, as you go into legislation. So, my Buchanan friends, we don't have to be. Let's talk about the Boys and Girls Club. Go ahead and introduce yourself and what's going on down in Buchanan.
I'm Megan. It's my son Malcolm. I just started wanting to kind of get more involved in our community. I actually left healthcare after 12 years and decided this summer to really pour into the kids in the community. A big problem we have there is there's no affordable care, places for kids to go. So this has been really eye-opening to me, and working with these kids has been amazing. Stressful at times, but it's amazing. It's quite a difference going from mostly elderly to working with just kids, and a lot of you have talked about working with the youth, and there's all different mental health, physical health, just different things that I really had to tackle, and it's been a blast. What else am I supposed to say?
No, I just want you guys. Yeah. Just talk a little bit. Like I shared with you guys, the Boys and Girls Club. We are committed to being accessible to families, so that means we charge $5 for the summer, and we charge $5 for the school year. We are able to, like I said, we're able to fill that need in a community where kids need a spot to go. I happen to think it's pretty fun. Our Buchanan kids, what do you like about the club? Do you want to tell them what you like about the club? Is this intimidating to talk about? That's totally fine. We have the grown up, yeah.
My name is Emily Fonzak. I'm an educator in a different district, but my husband is an educator in Buchanan. And so when there was a need for another person to work this summer, I said, sure, no problem. It's incredible to see what we can offer the kids that don't have anything to do for the summer. A lot of these kids go from summer school and come right to us, and if they didn't have us, they would be at home with older sibling or babysitter, grandparents, or whatever. And they're able to come and spend time with their peers, give them a lot of different opportunities. We've had some great field trips that some of these kids might not ever get to go to if they didn't have this opportunity. And we do deal with, some behavior issues, but it's a very laid back setting, not like school. There's structure, but it's not like school, and I think the kids need that structure when they're not at school.
Yeah, so as we expand our footprint across Southwest Michigan, our club looks different in every single community. So we would love it for you guys that represent Buchanan to consider this as you're going forward. Do you guys have any questions about club programming and what that looks like at a school district level? Anybody? Not
Yeah,
just,
I have a question.
Yeah.
In terms of like ideas, you guys are coming up with them, you see a problem, you see a need, you want to make something happen. Are there any barriers or challenges that you guys have encountered that maybe are from a state level standpoint?
So I would say we actually have Patricia Robinson is here too, who's our superintendent and has been a great partner in that. So feel free to jump into that question as well.
So, good afternoon, everybody. So, thank you, Boys and Girls Club, for partnering with us. This is their second year actually in Buchanan, so it has grown a lot from last summer. So, barriers, money, funding, being able to fund a space like this is one of our biggest barriers in Buchanan. Another barrier is space. So, we're not a district that has a lot of money, but we're a district who is stretching our dollars as much as we can in order to support the programming and academic programming that we have in the school. So having funds for after-school care like this, we do not have. So, and I would say that in our area, childcare is a huge, huge issue. A couple years ago, we had to move away from, we had kid care, and parents were able to drop off their kids in the morning, and because of spacing and funding, we had to go away from that. So that left a void for many of our families in the morning time. So it would be very beneficial for our community if we were able to have a morning care and after school care for our students that we're able to help support our families as they have to go out and work. And our students need activities. So what we also have found is those students who don't have those activities within the community, what do? And I don't mind. They just get into all sorts of mishaps. So we want to make sure that we're able to provide those activities for our students within our community. So we are blessed, and I'll say blessed to have been able to partner with the Boys and Girls Club like this. That's it.
I hate to, so did the Boys and Girls Club coming in for the last 2 years fit and fulfill that need of space
So
and
because
stuff that you needed that,
for the time, for summer. It's only for summer, so school is out, we have a little bit of space. We're not able to afford it for the school year. So unfortunately, during the school year, we have to just get on the line.
Is your building that you use in Buchanan like a school within the district? Okay.
Yes,
So
it is.
that's why it's good for
And,
summer.
yes, and I'll say this too, our district applied for the community grant that Governor Boomer had last year. So we had a team, and our thought was, we have a school farm, not to put a plug into Buchanan, but Buchanan is one of few districts in Michigan that has a school farm that we actually run. So we have programs that are out there, nice space, lots of acreage there, and if we have a old trailer that we do lessons out of. So one of our ideas was to apply for this grant so that we can build an agricultural center there. And we would partner with the Boys and Girls Club, and we would have an agricultural component for our students for the Boys and Girls Club. Unfortunately, we didn't get the grant, but we're still plugging at trying to find ways to build space and find space to have this partnership for our students.
Yeah, so we'd love to share more, especially in the interest of time, though. I'm gonna move us along just a little bit, but thank you guys so much for that. Buchanan highlights a really, really great partnership that the Boys and Girls Club has with the community organization. We're particularly proud of that because as we serve a wide variety of members, we're also serving a lot, and we're meeting a lot of different needs. One of the things that came up in our survey was how we are serving LGBTQ youth here in Southwest Michigan. We are not the experts. The Out Center is the experts. So the Out Center is here to ask us a question.
Absolutely. Thank you all for being here tonight. We're very excited to have the chance to talk with you all. Given the historic advances over the past few years to ensure LGBTQ Michiganders and youth are equitably protected and supported as equal citizens, what is one thing that you could do as a state representative to continue to improve the lives of LGBTQ plus youth and the broader community of LGBTQ folks?
Yep, and again, in the interest of time, I am going to extend it to everybody. I have to cut you down to 30 seconds. I'm so sorry. But Mr. Andrews, we can start with you.
Sure. So I think we've done our best over the last year to bring the state forward quite a bit. One of the things that I really want to highlight is that we banned conversion therapy for youth, but we didn't ban it in all settings, and I do think that there's more that could be done there. There's still a lot of kids that are going through what is an absolutely atrocious method. It's abusive. There's no science to back conversion therapy working at all. And so it's something I've had a lot of conversations with some young folks in the LGBTQ community, is working to keep pushing that needle forward and make sure that nobody in any setting is subjected to conversion therapy.
Thank you very much, Representative Andrews. And
Yeah.
Mr. Paquette?
One of my pushes is to bring about evidence-based care, especially with young people. I have bills to ban puberty blockers and also transgender surgeries because they aren't long-term based. You look at the CAST report, other countries are banning these procedures for kids. Kids shouldn't be having their puberty blocked with powerful drugs like Lupron. With conversion therapy, a licensed therapist now can lose their license for a young person coming in saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable through puberty right now, maybe I'm the opposite sex. And they could lose their license by saying this is just a phase, puberty's uncomfortable. And it must be noted that also a person cannot biologically change their sex, and kids are being misleaded to believe that they can.
Thank you. Mr. Whiteford?
Well, yeah, it's, one of the things that comes up when I talk to people at the doors too is, are they treated fairly? Well, the Constitution includes all persons for life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So as far as I'm concerned, I like the fact that we go to certain constitutional authority that says, hey, this is being handled.
Thank you. Ms. Jones?
I co-chair the Niles Pride. I believe that we should be providing support services and safe spaces for our youth that are in the LGBTQ plus community, as well as continuing to offer affirming care services outside of surgery that is evidence-based. And I think that that would be necessary in order to make it safe for our children and lower the suicide rates.
Thank you. Mr. Lucas?
I believe in equal opportunity, and I think as long as somebody wants to express themselves any way they want to, as long as they're not harming anybody else, I think that's perfectly fine. I've talked to several parents on doors where their kid was transgender, and the number one concern that they expressed to me is that they want to make sure that their kids are safe. So I would certainly work to ensure safety for people in that situation.
Thank you so much. Another question that we hear, even though it might not be what you would think members are talking about, is actually affordable housing. So I'm going to have Thaddeus ask his question. Again, in the interest of time, I'm going to have to shut you guys down to 30 seconds, and then we'll do one more question after Thaddeus. Sorry, guys. Sorry. There's 5 of you, and I really appreciate your engagement, and it's hard to do all of you, okay?
Hey, I'm Thaddeus. I attend Countryside Academy.
Could you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, can you come up here? I know that fan back there.
Hello, I'm Thaddeus. I attend Countryside Academy, 15 years old, going into my sophomore year. And I've been a club member for a little over 4 years, and I'm another employee of the Life and Workforce student at the club, learning about different career paths, going to the jails, learning about how some people commit petty crimes just to get into jail because they have nowhere else to go. And we've had a lot of adults tell us about that affordable housing is a problem. What do you have to say about that?
So the question is just, what do you have to say about affordable housing? Again, a lot of our feedback came from our members. We started at age 6. Of course, we go all the way up through high school. They're not quite paying rent yet, but they're already clued into this affordable housing conversation. So, Ms. Jones, I'm going to start with you.
So one of the things that I think should be addressed is the private equity ownership of single-family homes, as well as short-term rentals, which have been driving up the cost of rental units that are available for families to live in communities that are the most impacted and don't have affordable housing available to them.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Whiteford.
I've worked on this for 8 years. This is a very troublesome item. The problem is everybody talks about it, but nobody has a system to do it. South Haven, in order to build a home, you got to come up with $31,000 to start building. I was able to do affordable homes in Coloma with a $398 permit fee. We have to find ways to build affordable homes through a legal licensing process that these communities will allow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Paquette?
I'll take a different angle. It comes down to economics, scarcity. There are only so many houses. There are only so many actual physical goods, right? So many dollars that are chasing that. What we've done, and especially at the federal level, a lot of people who make all these promises, I'm going to fix all these things, and they print money to spend it at the federal level. They don't have to have balanced budgets. And the state level, a lot of folks do their own personal little pet projects, give all the money to the lobbyists and their issues that they want to, push forward as well because they get campaign checks from it. And then housing as a priority goes to the wayside. So ethics is another aspect in terms of who's making the decisions and printing all the dollars that makes all of our dollars worth less.
Thank you so much. Mr. Andrews.
Yeah, so right now, our housing authority in the state estimates that about 30% of the cost of housing when it comes to building is in permitting. Something that we need to do is continue to incentivize movement towards form-based zoning at a local level to make it cheaper to build. We have moved a lot of funding into subsidies for missing middle housing and workforce housing, but at the end of the day, this is an economics issue. It is a supply and demand issue. Things like short-term rentals, taking rental units off the market is a huge problem, but at the end of the day, the cost to build is enormous, and we have to do what we can to bring down the cost to build in order to increase the supply.
Thank you.
30 seconds.
And Mr. Lucas.
I've been a residential real estate broker in southwestern Michigan for the past 25 years. I've been on top of this issue for the last 25 years, and when it really started to become a problem, I sat down and I came up with 23 different initiatives that can help with the affordability of housing. So I'm ready to go on day one.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And to finish to finish up our forum, I will say this is the last formal question we'll ask you guys. Of course, we want to keep chatting with you afterwards, and I appreciate your time. But our last formal question is actually going to come from St. Joseph. Even louder, so ready?
Adults ask us a lot about what we want to be when we grow up. We want to ask you about your future too. What will you do after your term?
So we want to know what your plan is after you've won state after you have won your state representative seat, you have completed your term as state representative. What's next for you on the horizon after that, guys? We're excited. We're excited to hear about that. So, Mr. Whiteford, I'll start with you.
I've already been doing it. I've worked my tail off my entire life. I'm in a position that I could retire right now. So I don't need the money, I don't need the job, and I'm doing it. I want to be a state rep because I want to do it for the people. I want to do it for the kids and the grandkids of this community. What am I going to do afterwards? I'm going to try to seek as many kids as I can to save their lives, because that's what I'm about. I love kids. I'm so excited about your future, and I want to make sure that your path in the future is good and is allowed the same path that I was allowed.
Thank you so much. Ms. Jones.
So I don't actually intend to close my small business while I'm at the state legislature, so I will continue doing what I've been doing, as well as aiding and volunteering in the community to make sure that the needs are met for our community members.
Thank you. And Mr. Lucas.
Well, what got me to the point to run for office was my involvement with community service. So after I'm done being your state representative, my intention is probably to continue to volunteer in my community in some capacity.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Andrews.
Yeah, so I mean, we can do this job for 12 years, so I plan to be here for the next 10. And then after that, what has always driven me is finding ways that I can fill a need in the community. And what advocacy is going to be needed for me in 10 years is hard to say, but I can tell you that whatever the next step for me will be after that 10 years, it's certainly going to be advocating for this community, doing everything I can to continue bringing back investment and prosperity for our people.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Paquette.
Yeah.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
The Lord's thrown me into a lot of different places. It's actually what got me into Southwest Michigan, and I believe it's the root that produces the fruit. Wherever you put your roots into, that's where you can prosper. And so wherever I am, wherever I get placed, I will invest into those around me, treat people with respect, have the hard conversations that need to be had, and do what I think is best in loving others.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. We like to ask that question because, believe it or not, you're looking at the future of who could probably be sitting in your seats once you guys are done with this work.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate your time tonight. Really quickly, I want to point out, Alec Blackman, our CEO, is here. Would love to show you guys what is happening in the basement right now in terms of some of the awesome things.
In the basement.
The lower level. And that's our marketing. That's the lower level. Sorry.
I'm not going to the basement.
Would love to show you what's happening on the lower level. Would love to talk to you about what is happening on the lower level. We are bringing an incredible teen tech center here, not just the teens of Benton Harbor, but it's accessible to our entire community. Something that could definitely be replicated in new areas as well. So we'd love to show you that. We have some. For everybody here, we have some tables outside. There's index cards there, and there's also some big manila envelopes. If you have a question, if you have feedback, if you have thanks, it is nice to thank your elected officials too. You can write those notes and put it in the those envelopes. I'll make sure those get to you guys as well. Right now, night court is happening at the Boys and Girls Club as well, so you'll see quite a bit of basketball. I definitely encourage you guys to take a peek in there. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Lower level. Lower level.
Thanks for doing it.